tonight. It may be raining in much of Saskatchewan today, but that will soon turn to heat. And with that rise in temperatures comes an increased risk of wildfires. You could soon see more golf carts on the road, as municipalities are granted the right to choose if they're allowed, with some rules, of course.
I'm a good mom.
Plus, heading into Mother's Day weekend, this Saskatoon musician says and sings that she's a good mom, not a perfect mom, and she's okay with that.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, May 12th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. It might be raining in much of Saskatchewan today, but that will change, and quickly. With incoming warmer temperatures follows an increased risk of wildfires. By this time next week, Natural Resources Canada's fire danger map shows nearly all of the province in the extreme zone. Right now, Saskatchewan's facing 27 active wildfires. 5 of them are not contained or out of control. The so-called Vermette and Shaw wildfires up north around Buffalo Narrows are 2 of them. Earlier this week, 8 cabins in the area burned down. The chief of the Buffalo River Dene Nation says it's a tough situation, knowing the fire is just a few kilometers from the highway.
The wind picks up and the weather changes. It won't take long for it to get to the highway, and that's our only access into the community. That was the reason why we decided to evacuate. When you have family back home, mothers or grandparents that are back home and not knowing what's going on, it makes it, the anxiety is high, and then the mental issues with most of the elders out there. We have some out there that have lost their cabins in the fire. And I talked to one of them this morning, and she said the thought of our home being gone is very hard for them.
So far, about 140 people, mostly elders and women with children, have been evacuated from the community. The rest of them are prepared to leave at a moment's notice, should things get worse. Next door in Alberta, there are 74 active wildfires and 20 are out of control. 16,000 people are currently out of their homes. Hundreds of Canadian Armed Forces personnel are on the ground assisting, with more on the way. Julia Wong has more from Drayton Valley, Alberta.
It will be at least another week before residents from Drayton Valley and Brazeau County will be allowed to go home. More than 7,000 residents were forced from their homes late last week after a wildfire started burning nearby. At least 4 homes were destroyed. One man says he saw chunks of ash falling from the sky, describing it as like walking through hell. Now, since that time, some residents have been staying in RVs and trailers, waiting things out. One evacuee is living in a tent with her cat, saying she wanted to have her own little space instead of living in a hotel or with family. She says she wasn't really a camper before, but she's making do. And there are a range of emotions to the news. It may be some time before people can go home.
I just needed a space to land, so a place to call home. This is home now, right? So we make a new home, a temporary home, and everybody's in the same boat.
It doesn't compute, and that's why so many people are frustrated. They're not giving useful information. Where is the fire? Why is it still a hazard to town? We get you consider it out of control, but what is making it out of control so that the layman can understand it? We're not in their meeting rooms. We don't see their maps. We don't see their meetings that they have. They need to get those meetings out to us somehow to make us feel better about sitting in parking lots with our crippled family, just trying to live. Sucks.
The town and county say they want to get services like hospitals, grocery stores, and pharmacies back up and running before evacuees return. They also say the fire situation is volatile, and the weather this weekend will not be helping with that. The forecast shows gusty conditions and temperatures in their 30s, which are 10 to 15 degrees above seasonal. That means the fire around Drayton Valley and the other fires around the province could flare up again. Julia Wong, CBC News, near Drayton Valley, Alberta.
First Nations leaders in Manitoba say a search for the bodies of 2 First Nations women at a Winnipeg area landfill must be done. A study into the feasibility of carrying out a search concluded that it was possible and that it could take up to 3 years and cost as much as $184 million. Brittany Greenslade has more.
This report is 5 months in the making, and we're learning that the family has had it for about a week to review it, go over it, and really take it in and process before those results were released this afternoon. Now, the report, which we have not seen and has not been released, is 55 pages long and goes through a large scope of what one of these searches could potentially look like. Now, AMC Grand Chief Kathy Merrick says it would likely use a conveyor belt system, which they've seen used in other landfill searches around North America, but that's really the only details that we got. The family today saying this was a difficult read. At times, many people had to stop to process what was really in it. Now, they're saying regardless of this looking like it could take 18 to 36 months and on the upper end up to $184 million, that doesn't matter. They're saying the cost should not matter.
You cannot put a price on the lives of First Nation women or the horrific and profound loss their families have experienced. These women are mothers, sisters, cousins, and aunties. They were here and their lives mattered.
And it's not just the federal government. It also needs to include the City of Winnipeg and the provincial government. Everyone needs to come together, and we will be asking everyone to come together.
Now, the Grand Chief did also say if the federal government was not going to move forward with this and it's not carrying out, that this proves the government condones the disposing of First Nations women in landfills. This report also came with a number of recommendations. They'd like to see more money for social supports and homeless shelters, and they also want to see some recommendations of changes across the country. They'd like to see a mandate on GPS tracking on garbage trucks across Canada. They'd also like to see rear view cameras on those so that the drivers can see what is being lifted into their truck at all times. And they're calling for surveillance at the entrances and exits of landfills. Brittany Greenslade, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The provincial government is reducing the training required when foreign nurses arrive in Saskatchewan. But the Saskatchewan Union of Nurses is worried about how these nurses will be supported. Previously, nurses from some countries required more than a year of extra training here before they could work. That's now shortened to 14 weeks, making it easier for foreign nurses to help with the nursing shortages across the province. But the president of the nurses union says staffing shortages have left the system in chaos, with hundreds of vacant positions. Tracy Zambori worries the new recruits are being set up for failure because experienced nurses don't have the capacity to mentor them.
And think about putting a brand new person to Canada, internationally educated registered nurse in the mix of that without any sort of guidance on the floor, because the mid to late career nurses that are there are running around just trying to keep people safe, not having the time to actually give the mentorship that's required.
Zambori says experienced nurses are too overworked and they're no longer staying until retirement. She says the province should focus on keeping experienced nurses in the workplace so the nurses get fast-tracked into the new healthcare system are not overwhelmed too. This summer, golf carts could be cruising up and down the streets in Saskatchewan. This after some communities lobbied for the change at a recent SUMA convention. Ashwarya Duda has the details.
Golf carts are a common way for people to get around in the resort town of Shields. Saskatchewan Urban Municipalities Association recently passed a resolution for communities to allow the small vehicles to be used on roads. The province agreed to the change, and SGI says this form of transportation is cost-effective, environment-friendly, and ability-inclusive.
You can see how a community like Shields, it just makes sense as a convenient way to get around, visit your neighbors, head down to the beach, go pick up your mail. We think this will particularly benefit seniors and people who may have mobility challenges.
Even though these golf carts will be legal on Saskatchewan streets, not everyone can drive them. There will be limits on where and how they can be driven and who's allowed to get behind the wheel. All of these rules will be laid out by a municipality's bylaw.
Golf carts will only be permitted on roads with a speed limit of no more than 50 kilometers per hour, and the roads must be the ones that are specified by the municipality. They can't go on provincial highways other than to cross them. The carts themselves will not be able to travel faster than 24 kilometers per hour, and they have to be driven by someone who has at least a Class 7 license.
The mayor of Shields says she's excited about the change and is looking forward to driving her golf cart around town and not just to and from the golf course. A survey showed many people in the community wanted them too.
I have grandkids, so when they come, I can take the two of them and we can go tootle around and take them to the beach, take them to the sports court. We're opening a kiosk. We're going to be serving ice cream in the summer, so that'll be very popular for people driving up on their golf carts.
There are safety concerns surrounding the golf carts, including impaired driving. The minister says he expects people to be cautious when they use them. Anyone breaking the rules can be charged under the criminal code, possibly lose their license or go to jail. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Shields.
There's a new contract to manage the City of Saskatoon's pound and animal control services for the Saskatoon Animal Control Agency. The previous contract with the Saskatoon SPCA will end December 31st. Last year, the SPCA was denied significant funding requests by the city and the province. It announced it intended to cease pound operations. The city says Saskatoon Animal Control Agency was chosen based on its evaluation of strategy, experience, and qualifications. A spokesperson for it anticipates there will be no interruptions to pound keeping services. It will start operating January 1st.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. And with the rain, some cooler temperatures in the Queen City today.
Yes, dropping down into the teens and even some places struggling to get into those double digits. That's what the rain will do. And the rain is expected to continue. We still have rainfall warnings, in fact, in place right now, in effect, for the Weyburn-Estevan area and Carlisle-Oxbow for the next little while. And just a sliver of the Assiniboia-Gravelbourg area. But Assiniboia and Gravelbourg yourselves, you are now out of that warning. You can see the bulk of that moisture really in that southeast corner. Some heavier pockets earlier today, and especially as well through southwestern Manitoba and even in portions of North Dakota still. That is likely to continue through the night tonight. There are still some pockets in play that we are watching, especially right in that southeast corner there, but a broad area of high pressure keeping the rest of us pretty clear overnight tonight and to tomorrow as well. Rain going to probably exit pretty quickly through tomorrow morning, but still going to be cloudy in southeastern sections, including in Regina, I think. But the rest of the province actually looking at a nice warm sunny day tomorrow with highs into the mid-20s. Everyone going to be seeing those low to mid-20s by Mother's Day on Sunday. Very nice Mother's Day. We have high pressure starting to move in, and that really is going to begin to clear us out. In terms of accumulation over this next little while here, till about midnight tonight, there could be another 10 millimeters in that southeast section. And by the time we get until tomorrow morning or so, again, pockets around Estevan could be getting 20 to 30 millimeters, but look how quickly these amounts drop off. Weyburn, we're really only expecting half of that in these next 12 to 18 hours. Here in Regina, Moose Jaw, the bulk of the rain is done for us. Then attention turns to our next weather system moving in. This feature, a very pronounced jet stream stretching well over the province, going to be trapping that warm air to the south. The high pressure that we are going to be seeing is really going to be reinforcing this in place. And basically what happens is with high pressure, the air sinks to the ground. So while that hot air sinks, it is reflected off the ground, but it has nowhere to go when it goes back up, and it kind of gets trapped, almost like a heat dome effect like we saw a couple of years ago. The warmest of the air likely getting to us Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. Now, there's no real classification for a heat dome, but it certainly looks like kind of what we saw in 2021. A very similar makeup in the atmosphere, but I can tell you now, it's not going to be as hot because we're not into July and the really kind of crux of the summer weather. Having said that, it is still going to be well above normal, and there are advisories in place in Alberta and BC for heat, essentially, and you're asked to just make sure you have lots of water, lots of sunscreen, and take breaks next week as we really see these temperatures increase. As a result to high pressure. We're not looking for winds to pick up at all very much. If at all, they'll be in the northern part of the province with some gusts between 30 and 40. But after that, it is the sunshine and the heat building in. Overnight lows are another thing. They're not going to be as warm as heat warning criteria, so they will stay below that. But in especially the further north you go, that is where we are looking for those hot temperatures. Saskatoon getting into the 30-degree range as we hit next week. So very nice, though, for Mother's Day, Sam. Looks like it's going to be great for all the moms.
I see lots of outdoor picnics in our Sunday future.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be good.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, for an entire technology-free generation, liner notes meant everything. As you listened to your new CD, you really got to know the artist through printed lyrics, photos, and shout-outs to other artists they loved. CBC Saskatchewan's Liner Notes series aims to bring back those experiences. Only this time, we're not getting the information from a booklet. We're getting it from the artists we love directly. The RCMP Chapel was the backdrop for our latest edition of Liner Notes. This is where Xochitl performed her latest song, Kolo Bia. It's a song from deep from her heart about how hard relationships can be.
She wanna go Kolo, Kolo, Kolo. My baby said Kolo, Kolo, yeah. She wanna go Kolo, Kolo, Kolo.
You can hear the rest of the song in an interview on our CBC Saskatchewan YouTube page, on CBC Gem, and at cbc.ca/liner notes. It is Mother's Day this weekend, a day to celebrate all that moms do for us. But one Saskatoon mom says there's plenty she doesn't do for her daughter. She's not ashamed of it. Faraday Olson is proud to be a good mom, not a perfect mom.
My kid only eats macaroni. Her face is always looking at a screen. I rarely read her books before bed, and I often forget to brush her teeth. I'm a good mom, not a perfect one. I'm always making mistakes.
My name is Faraday Olson. I'm a musician and a content creator. I wrote Good Mom because, honestly, I think most moms are really hard on themselves, including myself. And I spent a lot of time thinking really deeply about all the ways I might be messing up my child. And I wrote a song that says, I'm a good mom, not a perfect mom. And that's okay. And it was really inspired by a lot of conversations I have with my mom when I'm struggling to know if I'm doing a good job. And her just saying, like, you don't have to do this job perfectly. Do you remember this or that or this? So I struggle to feed my kid. She really only likes macaroni. She'll often just forget to eat, brushing her teeth, getting to bed on time. There's countless care tasks involved with the children. And sometimes, you're not getting them all right at the same time and you're juggling them all, but then you're like, wait a second, what did I forget? And of course, it's infinite. The ability to try and even if I got all those right, there would be other things at the end of the day that I'd still want to get those right. The desire to raise your children perfectly because we love them so much. We want to do it right. And yet that's an impossible task.
I'm a good mom with many limitations. I can't be everything, and that's okay.
Overwhelmingly, there's so many moms who are like, I cannot believe that how much I needed to hear this today. I think that every mother really worries about her children, whether she's doing a good enough job. And she's definitely already doing her best and her best and beyond. And still she thinks that she's coming up short. And then, of course, there are people who would like to tell me that I'm coming up short and have a lot of wow, you're such a lazy mom. And I think it's almost like they're kind of afraid. If I say I'm a good mom, not a perfect mom, somehow I'm just gonna let it all slip and she's gonna be living in a puddle in the backyard. So they're just wow, you don't even try? I'm oh, I try. Part of our job too, it is our job to teach our children how to be human. And being human is to make mistakes. And that is part of normalizing what motherhood is, that you're not going to get it right. And neither are they in everything, that we're all making mistakes and we're all learning together. And have a good day. Have a good day for Mother's Day. Be easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself.
And a happy Mother's Day to all the moms and mom figures out there tonight. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or /Saskatoon or subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11:30 after hockey. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.